blah, 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 blah. Well, she calls that her gremlin. And she named hers George Burns. And anytime she goes to do something significant, she'll just hear that babble and she'll say, now, George, you have to go sit in the corner because I don't have time to talk to you today. Turning down that dial of the negative inner chatter. Okay, so those are the 6 points under health. And health was number 2 of the points we want to look at today. The first one was forgiveness. And for the healing, healthy culture, the winning culture. Number 2 was healing. Number 3 is redemptive. Create a culture that is redemptive, not punitive in nature. Failures are not only forgiven, but mistakes are redeemed. Okay. So true forgiveness always welcomes a growth-willing person back alongside, even if they've made mistakes, but they're willing to grow. It welcomes them back alongside so that they can learn, grow, get better, overcome the past failures. And this creates a redemptive culture. It does not view failures as the end, but as the end of the beginning, as Winston Churchill once said. This is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it may be the end of the beginning. That's how we look at failures. We look at it as the path to greatness. One of the illustrations that I love about this are the Wright brothers, who you probably know invented the flight. Or at least discovered it. It was already there, just nobody had really put it to the test and figured out how to do it yet. So they discovered flight. But these guys went through if you read their story, and I encourage you to do so, they went through all kinds of setbacks. They had weeks of bad weather at times when they were trying to test their craft. They had technical issues. They would have to go back and start from scratch and figure out how to rebuild engines and rebuild other things. They had damage to the planes. The planes would crash and get damaged, and they had to rebuild those, and they were low on funds anyways. And they had all of these setbacks, but they kept getting better each time. They used those failures and those setbacks not to give up and to quit. They believed, hey, we are learning what not to do. We're going to find what that problem was. We're going to modify it. We're going to redeem it, and we're going to keep getting better. Well, they were so inspirational that years later, when the Apollo 11 crew flew to the moon, they carried a piece of their first successful aircraft with them that the Wright brothers had made, because it was so inspirational. So we never know if our perseverance and our redemption of failures today might inspire tomorrow's generations in ways we could never imagine. When those Wright brothers down there at Kitty Hawk first had that successful flight, they never had in mind, I wouldn't imagine, that there was going to be a rocket ship that flew to the moon that would carry a piece of that plane with them. But because they persevered and they redeemed their failures today, and that's the mindset and the culture they had, years later, we ended up on the moon, and that spaceship carried a piece of their plane with them. Number 4, a winning culture is loving and compassionate in nature. Now think of this. Say that you were with a business and your top salesperson in that business or organization was off. His numbers were just down 3 quarters in a row. Now, if you were the leader of that organization, what would you do? Some people, they would just go to him and go, hey, Bob, your numbers have been down 3 quarters in a row. You better get these numbers back up, or bad things are going to happen. Well, that's one way to deal with it, but that's not part of a winning culture. Because a winning culture is loving and compassionate. Somebody in a winning culture would go and say, Bob, hey, you've always been our top salesman. You're so valuable to this organization and what we do. And, I've noticed that your numbers have been down a bit, over the last 3 quarters. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help? My ears are open. If you need to talk about anything or work through anything, but, let's see what we can do together. To help get this back on track and get them back up to where you've always been and what we know you're capable of. That's a winning culture. That's a loving and compassionate response. This is where the person themselves, not just the work that they do, is highly valued. We don't just love Bob because he produces for us and gets us good revenue. We actually love Bob. This is where your team becomes like family. Now, it's interesting that, 2 of the top desires that millennials say they want in a workplace is they want an environment that's like family, and they want to do something that's meaningful. That's part of a winning culture. Those are something that they're going to teach us before it's all over. They want to be part of an environment that's like family, part of a culture that embraces them like family, and they want to do something that's meaningful and significant that makes a positive difference for other people. So sometimes just engaging in conversation with other, listening can tell somebody that we love them. And the way we listen can show that we're compassionate towards them. Just engaging with them in conversation and listening well. And having the right mannerisms, the right eye contact, the right tone in our voice can convey to people how much we care about them. Okay. Number 5, a winning culture is where good things are shared. And this creates new vigor. There's a few things that I listed that we can share that will add value to others and help create the winning culture. First of all, good stories about value that's been added by the work we do can be shared. That's always encouraging. In any organization, it exists to add value to somebody through the services or products it provides. Sharing those stories about value that's been added, that's encouraging. Those need to be shared to remind everybody of, hey, why are we here? Why do we get up and come do this every day? Why do we exist in the first place? The second, profits can be shared. There are some companies that engage in profit sharing, and it's very impressive, the results that they've got. Delta is one. Delta in 2017, Delta shared over $1.1 billion with people throughout its organization. Southwest Airlines, they believe in profit sharing too. They shared $586 million in 2017, which was even a higher percentage than Delta because it's a smaller company. And they also gave $351 million to their 401k plans. So sharing profits is another good thing to do. Also, sharing good things that colleagues have done. If somebody on your team does something great and you're a manager, a leader of that team, or even if you're a coworker, a colleague, point it out. Hey, wow, so-and-so did this really great thing the other day. They stayed and helped out on this project. They dealt with a difficult situation in an exceptional manner. Share anything good that can be shared about somebody. Look for the good and share it. Also share things that have been done that have led to our present good. Look back in the past and remember things that people have done, sacrifices they've made, ideas they've had, opportunities they've taken that have led up to our present condition, and share those things. And then also share good things that we're planning to do. Okay. What are we planning to do in the future, and how might that positively impact other people? And then lastly on this, share good things that others are doing. When you see other organizations, don't just be totally self-focused on your organization. Look at other things in the community that are being done that are positive, and share good things that other people are doing. Read their stories, share their stories, focus on the good, bring all this positive in. Okay, so that's my list for today. Now I'm going to be back in a couple minutes and we're going to make a few final applications. But right now we're going to take a brief break and I'll be right back.
Jeff will be back shortly to wrap up today's message. This is Gabriela, still on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. If you've missed any part of today's message, you can hear it again online, as well as the entire archive of Empowered Living at www.talknetworkradio.com or search keyword #Empowered Living. We would like to acknowledge our music partners, Sound Ideas for Corporate to the Max and Kevin MacLeod for Airport Lounge. Any scriptures read during this broadcast are from the New American Standard Version of the Holy Bible. If you would like to learn more about Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, visit www.jeffbyrdcoaching.com. That is JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Do a Facebook search for @CoachingRocks or drop Jeff a line at jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
All righty, welcome back. So I've got a few applications for you today on these topics that we've talked about creating the winning culture. The first one is on forgiveness, where we started. When it comes to forgiveness, it's very helpful to recall our own failings and those who have forgiven us, and what difference it's made in our lives. You may recall, it's recorded that Jesus once said that whoever has been forgiven much will love much. When we realize and recognize and own our own failings and shortcomings and what other people have putting up with us, it makes us all the more compassionate and loving towards other people. We want to remember to see their potential and their value beyond their immediate performance. The person that fails today might overcome that and might be the greatest success tomorrow, but we don't want to attach a person's value to their temporary performance. We want to remember the value and treat them just as valuable on their best days as on their worst days, and that's going to really help them succeed. And keep in mind, just like that story I told about with my backing the car into the garage door, when somebody else fails, they don't like it any better than you do. For some of us, failures can seem really, really devastating, and we really have to work hard to overcome that. And it's so helpful to have somebody come along and say, hey, I still see your value. I believe in you. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get better. Okay. Number 2 on health is increase your antioxidants. Okay. Now this could be in every area of your life. On the physical level, maybe you just need to take a good supplement every day. On the other levels, we need to bring in those people who are our antioxidants, who help us identify and overcome that negative stinking thinking and help us bring in the right thinking. And we can ask ourselves, who adds health to us in our thinking, in our acting, in our lives, in our living? Who are those people? Let's be sure and remember to thank them. And also, maybe it's time to have a talk with one of them. Maybe it's time to grab a coffee. Maybe a person who's always been helpful and positive in an area that you're struggling with right now. Maybe it's time to just reach out to them and say, hey, can we catch up for coffee? It always does me so much good to be around you. And, let's sit down and chat for a while. Okay. Number 3, it's redemptive. So remember to distinguish between a person's performance and their intention and their potential. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Remember, every baby is messy, but every great thing has come from someone putting up with the baby. Where would we be if we threw our babies out with the bathwater? So we want to be sure and distinguish that rightly. And also you can ask, who shows signs of greatness but could use some help? Think of the Wright brothers. Boy, they had the greatness, they had the drive, they had the passion, they had the vision, and they needed help. They needed help from some other engineers, from some mechanics, they needed backers so they could keep doing it. Who can you help who shows signs of greatness and needs that extra little push to get down the road to their potential? Number 4 is being loving and compassionate. And on this, truly care for people, not just the job they do. Yes, the job is absolutely important, and we want people who do it well, but value the people more than just the job. Make sure you find people who are gifted in the areas that need to be developed, but also care for those people beyond those abilities and beyond that development. And remember, when it comes to communicating with people, only 7% of our communication is in what we say. 38% of how we communicate is in how we say it. And 55% are in our mannerisms, our body language. So remember, it's not just what you're saying. That's only 7% of communication is about what you say. The rest is how you say it and the way you say it. So remember that. And then keep in mind, if you're a manager or department head, if you have people who report to you, keep in mind this quote by Patrick Lencioni that says, people will walk through fire for a leader that's true and human. Just remember that when we're creating cultures, and even if you're not the leader in any culture that you're a part of, just remember that, to be true and human in everything you do. Number 5, sharing good things. I gave you a list just a minute ago, but remember what has happened good in your life and your organization lately that you can share? Who has handled something difficult and done a very good job at it that you can praise? What are we planning that will be good for others? What positive difference are others around us making? Let's recognize it and let's let them know, hey, I heard y'all did that over there. Even if it's not your organization, I heard y'all did this great thing. And that's so awesome. So proud to know you. So those are the takeaways for today. I hope that this has been as encouraging to you as it has been for me to share it on creating a winning culture. So I hope that you're part of one, and I hope that wherever you're at, that you're helping it grow. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching. We'll see you next time.